You either love Donald Trump or you hate him. This is no different for one of the most mysterious units of his government, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Headed by tech billionaire Elon Musk, its official task is to advise President Trump in finding and stopping wasteful government spending. For one side of the political spectrum, the people of DOGE are genius cost cutters slashing the bureaucracy.
How much they have saved the American taxpayer. That is you, America. This is volunteer work being done by the world's richest man.
While for the other side, they represent the worst of the Trump administration, essentially destroying democracy by hollowing out the government.
We believe that they're going to use the DOGE subcommittee to eviscerate the federal workforce.
For this video, I went beyond the rhetoric and tried to find out what DOGE has actually done so far and what to think of it. The origins of DOGE. This story starts in July 2024. We are in the middle of the race to the White House. The Republican candidate, Donald Trump, is almost assassinated on a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and as a reaction to that, Elon Musk, the owner of X and the car company Tesla, making him the richest man in the world, comes out and publicly endorses Donald Trump to be the next president. It is from that day on that Elon Musk and Donald Trump form an alliance. About a month after the assassination attempt, the two of them sit down for a 2-hour talk on X. About halfway into it, they talk about government spending when Elon Musk says this.
I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love it
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter.
Just 1 week after their exchange, the X-user Sir Doge of the Coin suggests the name Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, as name for this commission. And Elon loves it. Quickly after their first chat on X, Elon Musk joins multiple Trump rallies. In October, he takes the stage at the last big Trump rally before the election in Madison Square Garden.
But we set up DOGE.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
Well, we all know how the election went.
This will truly be the golden age of America.
Just days after his victory, Donald Trump gives out a statement in which he announces that the great Elon Musk and his former competitor for the Republican nomination, Vivek Ramaswamy, will lead the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Trump calls it the Manhattan Project of our time. In an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, Elon and Vivek map out their plan for DOGE. However, already before DOGE even gets set up, Elon Musk corrects his expectations. In a chat he has with former Microsoft executive Mark Penn on X, he says,
We try for $2 trillion, we've got a good shot at getting one.
So, in a matter of weeks, he goes from
We can do at least $2 trillion.
to
We've got a good shot at getting one.
in this time, nothing has changed about government spending. And already at this point, it gets clear that Elon Musk is just throwing around with numbers. He has no clear plan, let alone any idea what he is talking about. On the 20th of January, the day has come. Donald Trump celebrates his second inauguration to the White House. This will be a busy day for Donald Trump, because in total he signs 26 executive orders, a new record for the first day of a presidential term. Among them is this one.
This is an order creating and implementing the Department of Governmental Efficiency, known as DOGE.
Okay, that's a big one.
And with that, DOGE is officially a thing.
I'm living the meme. It's like there's living the dream and there's living the meme, and it's pretty much what's happening.
Why DOGE was established. Now, before we get into what DOGE does, we first need to understand why Trump and Musk started this in the first place. It mainly has to do with the US national debt. It currently stands at around $36 trillion. And as interest rates have risen over the last years, the US pays a lot for this debt. To be exact, in 2024 it was $870 billion. That is more than the military expenditure. The US pays more on interest than on the most expensive military in the world. And with a growing national debt, these interest payments just grow and grow and grow. At some point, the interest payments might even surpass social security expenditures, rendering them the biggest cost block of the national budget. And if you have listened to one speech from Trump or Elon, you have probably heard where they see the reason for the budget deficit.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
There's a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the government.
Fraud, abuse, waste.
There's a lot of waste and fraud.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Now it's time to take a closer look at how they want to handle this waste, fraud, and abuse. What DOGE has done so far. Donald Trump was the quickest. On his first day in office, he did not just establish DOGE, he also signed major government cuts, like a 90-day hiring freeze for all federal civilian employees. For Elon, it took about a week longer until he showed the first major sign of life from DOGE. It was addressed at the people already employed by the federal government. Because on the 28th of January, more than 2 million federal employees found a surprise in their mail inbox. A message directly from the Office of Personnel Management. So basically the HR department of the government. Its title read, "Fork in the Road." When they opened the mail, they read this. An offer for a deferred resignation. The letter gives all federal employees two options. Either you resign immediately and still get paid for 8 months until September, or you stay in your job and we can't guarantee that we won't fire you anyway. It's a move that Elon seems to like. Just about 20 days after taking over Twitter, he sent a letter to all Twitter employees with a similar content. Its title as well, "A Fork in the Road." This time though, the stakes are a lot higher, because now he got to play his games with all federal employees of the United States government. In the end, about 75,000 people took the offer. Trump and Elon originally hoped for more than double that. But still, that is 75,000 resignations because of one letter. And while writing his Fork in the Road mail, Elon already had his next target in mind: how DOGE shut down USAID. On the 1st of February 2025, anyone who typed in usaid.gov into their search bar found this. The website of the United States Agency for International Development went down. 2 days later, Elon proudly proclaimed on X, "We spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper." Musk and Trump plan to cut down the headcount of USAID from 13,000 to 300. They mainly have 2 points of criticism against USAID. First, it's about the efficiency of USAID. Elon argues that for all the talk of US aid about feeding the world and helping poor communities, surprisingly few dollars actually reach those in need. And it's true. One foreign aid activist told PBS,
"It's actually less than 10% of our foreign assistance dollars flowing through USAID is actually reaching those communities."
And their second point of criticism concerns what USAID has already done. Elon Musk claimed that
and there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
Now, whether USAID is really just the nice face of the CIA that just works to promote American interests is heavily debated. We will not go into detail on that in this video. Let's just say that it's not hard to find articles from non-Western countries like India that are a lot more critical with USAID than the American press. What we are interested in is the result, which Secretary of State Marco Rubio later announced. 83% of programs from USAID will be cancelled. He claimed that this saved tens of billions of dollars for the American taxpayer. And on the surface, this is probably even true, as USAID had a budget of $40 to $50 billion over the last years. But the same Marco Rubio used to stress during his time as senator,
"We don't have to give foreign aid. We do so because it furthers our national interests. That's why we give foreign aid." I promise you it's going to be a lot harder to recruit someone to anti-Americanism, anti-American terrorism, if the United States of America was the reason why they're even alive today.
So in the long run, those billions of dollars saved with US aid might be pretty costly. But back to DOGE. You remember the deferred resignation program? 75,000 federal employees took the offer and resigned from their job. Less than half of what Elon and his team hoped for. Which is why DOGE asks the agency heads to find ways of getting rid of more employees.
If they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
And cutting he soon does, in a bizarre way. Who DOGE actually lays off. In the middle of February, Elon starts with the Department of Energy, which begins firing all employees on probation without notice. This includes all probationary workers in the National Nuclear Security Administration. It's part of a broader move to fire almost all federal employees on probation, of which there are about 220,000. The Office of Personnel Management even fired over 100 employees on probation through a Zoom call.
If you're on this call, this is confirmation that you are part of the unlucky group who are having their contract terminated with immediate effect on the grounds of staffing redundancy, and today is your final day of employment.
To many experts, this is another short-sighted decision that is purely focused on presenting high numbers of job cuts.
Elon will do the cutting.
Probationary workers are often the youngest employees. They get paid the least, while often even knowing better how to handle digital tools than their better paid older colleagues. They are just the easiest to fire for DOGE. And in the case of the Nuclear Security Administration, DOGE even had to backpedal pretty quickly and rehire all probationary employees. Soon after, DOGE began publicly displaying all the contracts they have cancelled and how much money this allegedly saved the American taxpayer. For this, they created the website doge.gov. On its first day, it already said that DOGE saved $55 billion, a number that sounds pretty high. So much money saved by DOGE. Wow. There's only one problem with the number. It is probably wrong. Quickly after DOGE released it, NPR and other media outlets analyzed the alleged savings made by DOGE. The result? Of the $55 billion in savings brought forward by DOGE, only $2 billion of savings can truly be confirmed. Here are a couple of examples when DOGE exaggerated the savings it managed to accomplish. DOGE claimed to have saved $4 million with the sale of a historic school building in Washington, D.C. However, it was already sold under the Biden administration. Or in another instance, one contract cancellation allegedly saved $8 billion when in fact this was a typo and the saving was only $8 million. And even that number is probably overstated. CBS has also found that DOGE has repeatedly multiplied contract values. For example, there was one cancelled contract worth $25 million, but as 4 companies provided services for that contract, DOGE wrongfully labeled the savings as $100 million. Later, DOGE had to update cost savings for 170 contracts by a total volume of roughly $3 billion. Savings on one USAID contract, for example, dropped from almost $655 million to 35 cents. Trump and Elon did not really care for those details. When Donald Trump held his first cabinet meeting in February, he showed everyone that Elon Musk is untouchable.
And let the cabinet speak just for a second. Yeah, exactly. Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw them out of here.
And Elon went along.
Last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call to be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is the commander-in-chief. I do what the president asks.
The next target, the Department of Defense. And this is in fact a worthwhile target. Just around the time Donald Trump won the election against Joe Biden, the Pentagon failed its annual audit. That means the department cannot clearly explain where its yearly budget of $824 billion exactly went. And the main problem? It's not the first time this happens. It's not even the second time. The Pentagon now failed 7 audits in a row.
An organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse.
And most people would be right. One economist and expert on military spending said that
year after year, what has been found is something in the range of 30 to 40% of contract spending goes to waste, fraud, and abuse.
The main problem is that the major defense contractors basically exploit their position as much as they can. For many products like tanks or fighter jets, They are the only manufacturers, which is why they can raise prices to absurd levels. Because where there is no competition, there is no incentive to offer lower prices. Couple that with an industry that donates millions of dollars to members of Congress, and you get the perfect recipe for
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
We will see whether DOGE manages to eliminate this vicious cycle of wasteful spending in the Pentagon. Donald Trump sent other signals lately.
We have great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it.
So far, DOGE has stuck to its usual methods, firing thousands of probationary employees, and the Department of Defense plans to reduce its civilian workforce by 5 to 8%. That would be about 50,000 to almost 80,000 layoffs in the DoD, as they currently employ 950,000 civilians.
Chainsaw!
And the chainsaw goes on. The Social Security Administration plans to lay off 7,000 people of its 60,000 personnel workforce. The IRS even plans to cut half its workforce of 90,000 people. But is it really that easy to downsize the American government? The quick answer, no. And that leads us to the challenges that DOGE faces. Almost since the day of its inception, DOGE faces immense legal backlash. One federal judge first blocked DOGE temporarily from accessing sensitive data within the Treasury Department. And this verdict was later confirmed and extended indefinitely. And several judges have also ruled the mass firings of probationary workers across many agencies as unlawful, which Elon Musk exaggerated into this statement.
Basically, almost no one's gotten fired.
The US is a country of checks and balances, and now you can see this live at work. Don't get me wrong, just like any other government, the US federal government is a wasteful organization. Need an example?
The most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And then the speed, then the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. There's like 1,000 people that work on this.
Basically, everything that Elon says here is true. There is a great article from the Washington Post from 2014 that tells the story of this mine shaft. If you are interested, give it a read. It really reads like a comedy, unless you are an American taxpayer, because millions of dollars of your taxes are being wasted here. And there are even official numbers for the problem. In its latest report, the Government Accountability Office estimates that the government loses up to $521 billion every year because of fraud. And those numbers are not influenced by Elon Musk. They are from when Joe Biden was president. The goal must be to get that number as close to zero as possible. President Trump now even claims this.
We can think in terms of balancing budgets, believe it or not, something you haven't heard in many, many years, decades actually. And it's a big, whether it's this year or next year, I think we'll be very close to balancing budgets.
His tenure as president can be measured on this claim. It seems highly unlikely that Trump will be able to follow through on it though. The last time he was president, the US debt level didn't go down either. Whether he will be able to cut the deficit with DOGE now can be doubted. So far, DOGE has not worked on true government reform, but resorted to randomly cutting contracts and laying off probationary workers. Factor in that for the federal government, personnel costs only make up 4% of the budget, and you realize how many light years away Donald Trump is from a balanced budget. One analyst from the Manhattan Institute summarized the efforts of DOGE with this image. Think of Congress and its budget as the debt-ridden dad on the way to buy a $250,000 Ferrari on the credit card. And DOGE is the $2 off gas card he used along the way. It's great that he saved $2 on gas, but I think his wife may be more concerned about the $250,000 car.